which horrified the first messengers of Christianity. But in the case of the islands of which Ellis wrote, the benefits of civilization end here. Infanticide is now a punishable crime and rarely practiced, but perhaps it is as well to have children and to kill a certain number of them, as to be rendered sterile by imported disease. After all, infanticide, repulsive though it may be, is only a primitive form of the birth control which is making its appearance in Europe and America. As the continents, the white man's islands, approach the limit of population. As for true religious faith of the kind which the missionaries sincerely hope to instill, that plays in the life of the Kanaka a part of about the same importance as in the life of the average white man. Don't think I am cynical in saying this. I respect and envy men who possess real faith. They are the ones by whom every great task is accomplished. But the religion of the native is less than skin deep. His observance of the Sabbath day a survival of the old tapu, his church-going and singing of hymns, satisfying the social instinct, the love of gossip, the desire to be seen in fine clothes, replaced the old-time dance, wrestling matches, and exhibitions of the Faery. You have seen something of the outer islands, where the people are half savage even today, still swayed by what we call heathen superstition. Now consider Tahiti, where the people for more than 100 years have been subjected to the exhortations of an intensity almost unparalleled. If it is possible to inject our religion into their blood, it must have been accomplished in Tahiti, but in my opinion the efforts of 3 generations of missionaries have produced a result surprisingly small on this island, the most civilized of the South Pacific, where the heathen superstition is far from dead today. Before the schooners took to Penrhyn Lagoon, we used to spend the hurricane season in Papeete. I never cared much for towns. I usually put in the time wandering about the more remote districts. Civilization has barely scratched the inner life of Tahiti. Men who wear trousers and go to church by day would fear to sleep at night unless a lamp burned in the house to repel the vara ino and ghostly tampapau of their ancestors. If a girl falls ill, the native doctor, a lineal descendant of the heathen priest, is called in. "What have you done during the past week?" he asks. "You spoke harshly to that old woman." "Ah, I knew there was a cause." He administers a remedy in the form of a certain bath or a sprinkling with the water of a young coconut, and takes his leave. If the girl recovers, it is a remarkable instance of the doctor's skill. If she dies, it is proof that her offense was too grave to be remedied. Perhaps a ghost walks, and the native doctor is again consulted. It is your wife who comes to trouble you at night. How was she buried? Evidently the grave is opened and the body found to be lying face down. When turned on her back and again covered with the earth, the lady is content and ceases her disreputable prowlings. I am not convinced that all of these things are absurdity. I told you, when we were on the schooner, about some of my curious experiences in this group. There are happenings fully as strange on Tahiti and Moorea. You must have heard of what the natives call vara ino, a vague variety of devil, a sort of earth spirit, quite unhuman and intensely malignant. The people are not fond of discussing this subject, and their beliefs have become so tangled that it is impossible to get a straightforward story. But as nearly as I can make out, numbers of these vara ino are thought to lie in wait whenever a man or woman is dying, struggling fiercely with one another in the effort to catch and devour the departing human soul. If the spirit makes its escape the first time, the ravening watchers do not give up hope, but linger about the body, to which the soul is apt to return from time to time during the day or 2 following death. The human soul at this stage is considered nearly as malignant and dangerous as the vara ino. You can see what a garbled business it is. Sometimes an earth spirit enters the corrupted body and walks abroad at night. On one subject the natives all agree. The struggles of the praying spirits and the human soul are apt to be marked by splashes and pools of blood. Whose blood I have never learned to my satisfaction. A friend of mine, an educated and skeptical Englishman, in whose words I have the utmost confidence, was the witness of one of these blood-splashing affairs. He lived on Mura, just across from Tahiti. Hapiti was his village, I think. One afternoon he whistled to his fox terrier and strolled to a nearby house, where the body of a native, an old fellow he had liked, lay in state, surrounded by mourning relatives. As he stood on the veranda the dog began to growl furiously, and at the same moment the oldest man present, a sort of a doctor and authority on spiritual matters, shouted out suddenly that everyone must leave the house. The native explained afterward that he had caught a glimpse of something like a small comet, a shapeless and luminous body, trailing a fiery tail, rushing horizontally towards the rear of the building. The people gathered outside in a bit of a panic. The fox terrier seemed to have gone mad on the porch, alternately cowing and leaping forward with frenzied growls towards some invisible thing. All at once there was a great racket of overturned furniture inside the house, and the next moment the Englishman saw gouts of what looked like blood splashing over the outer wall and floor of the veranda. The dog was covered. It was a week before his coat was clean. The net result of the affair was that the veranda needed a cleaning, a couple of tables were overturned, and the body of the old man considerably disturbed. But its most curious feature is the fact that my friend, suspecting native trickery and a desire to impress a white man, took a specimen of the blood across to Papeete, where he got the hospital people to examine it. It was human blood beyond a doubt. What do you make of that? The other evening, when I was having a yarn with Apakura, she told me about another kind of Varoino, who figures as the villain in the tale of a Polynesian Cinderella. It may interest you. A great many years ago on Ahu there was a man named Tatu, one of Apakura's family, a renowned fighting man who dabbled in sorcery when there were no wars to be fought. Tall, handsome, and famous, it was no wonder that Tatu was pursued by all the island girls, scheming sisters in particular, who went so far as to build a hut near where he lived. Hoping to catch the eye of the hero, they took their finest ornaments and robes of tapa, and went to live in the hut, accompanied by their little sister, Teterina, who was to act as a drudge about the house. Young Teterina had no designs on Tatu, and she possessed no finery to make herself beautiful in his eyes. But one day, when she was gathering wood in the bush, she chanced to pass. Stopping to speak with her, he was struck with her goodness and beauty, and from that time the two met every day in the forest. The older sisters, meanwhile, were the victims of a mischievous earth spirit which haunted the vicinity and visited them in the guise of Tatu. They were triumphant when it was known that they had won the warrior's favors. All their friends would be wild with jealousy. They could not resist preening themselves before their little sister. "Tatu loves us," they told her. "He comes every day when you are off gathering wood." "But that is impossible," said Tetera, "for Tatu is my lover. He meets me each day in the forest." The older girls laughed scornfully at this, but Tetera said no more until she met her lover in the evening. When she told him what her sisters had said, he laughed. "It is Vareino," he informed her, "a mischievous spirit whose true appearance is that of a hideous old man. Tomorrow I will prove to your sisters that it is not I who visit them." That night Tatu sat up late, weaving a magic net of hibiscus bark, a net which had the property of causing a spirit to assume its true shape. Next afternoon Tatu and Teterera stole up to the house, where the spirit, in the form of a splendid warrior, was talking and laughing with the two sisters. Tatu cast the net. Next moment the spirit was howling and struggling in the magic meshes, unable to escape, moaning as it shriveled and changed into the appearance of an old man, gray-bearded, trembling, and hideous. The two sisters shrank back in loathing and mortification, while Tatu told them that he had chosen Teterera to be his wife. As he finished his story, Tari rose, crossed the room to a bookshelf, and returned to hand me a volume bound in worn yellow leather. "I am going to